This video will talk a little bit about researching typefaces and show you some typeface specimen inspiration. I know some of you are in the blended program and some of you have had me for type 1 in the online degree. So those of you who have had me in the online degree probably will have seen some of this information because of the type specimen poster that you created. But if you didn't, these are some resources for finding typefaces and just sort of type specimen inspiration. And I know you are all able to kind of do your own type of Googling, but I just wanted to go over some things and also just give you a little bit of a refresher as far as setting up your InDesign files. So I'm just going to go to fonts. So you're wondering, how can you find cool, different, and interesting fonts? And I think that, there's a lot of different free font ideas that you can do. So I definitely want you to kind of look outside of the box. Maybe these are typefaces that you would never have been able to use before because they're, too wacky and crazy. And, the first thing I might put in is like display. Let's do a search. Is this working? Here we go. So display fonts. So there's a bunch of different display fonts, and you could even initially think of, is there a theme you're going for? Is there a feeling that you're going for? Do you want all happy fonts? Do you want all sad fonts? Do you want fonts that are scary? You could create like a Halloween theme or a Christmas theme or, Valentine. It could be romantic and in love and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of all up to you. But if you notice here in all of these typefaces, they sometimes Adobe does do themes. So like Fonts Across America. And if you click here, you can see these different packs that they create. So they've got like a Tuscan extended, a script, different things like that. So, and then it's kind of fun. They already show you sort of a different, ways they would design each one, which I think is really cool that Adobe does this, and that's under font packs. So you can look at the packs. There's like fun, there's scribes, holidays, classic cocktails. So this could even be some place to start to get some inspiration. Radical, you could do grunge, you could do Bauhaus. I love this idea of the Bauhaus look. A lot of these are going to be pretty standard, but this is pretty cool. This Joe Schmee, I don't even know how you say that, but the nice thing is that with your Creative Cloud subscription, you have access to all these fonts. So there's Adobe fonts to look at. You can browse Google Fonts, and again, you can just do search. So you could do Halloween. Not to say you have to do a Halloween theme, but you get your kind of drippy, bloody, kind of old English, Gothic kind of typefaces, kind of funky. So that's something that you could think about doing. Lost Type Co-op, I'm not sure if I've shared this with you before, but Lost Type has awesome typefaces. What they usually do with their typefaces is it's kind of a pay as who you are. So, they'll say if you're a student, you can maybe put in $5. I think it's important to at least give something because these are designers who are creating these typefaces and, it takes a lot of work. But, you can see here with each of these fonts, they also do really fun things with how they lay out the fonts and give you an idea of, you can get it. But they show different ways to design with it. They describe the font. They talk about the typefaces, which I think is really, really cool. And I think like at this one, if you want, I think up here, if you say get, you'll see that you can, personal use, pay what you want. I would at least throw them like $5 if you wanted to. And I think these fonts are beautiful. So I have some that I have bought in the past because I think they're just really interesting and fun. And I think that there's a lot of really cool things that you could design with that. I mean, look at this thing, it's so cool. So you look through here, this is another option to do different typefaces. And then for inspiration, I always go to Emigre fonts. I love Emigre. I have owned a few of their typefaces, but I really also like the way they show their typefaces. And some of these Emigre fonts you can actually get on Adobe fonts. like Mr. Eves and Mrs. Eves. But stuff like this, like motion, is really cool. You can click on the type specimen, and actually a lot of these have a free download. So you can download some of these type specimens. I have a bunch of these that I just keep on my computer for inspiration. But you can see how these are catalogs that they talk about with their type specimens. And you're not going to go this far. But what Emigre used to do is they used to print these and mail them out to subscribers. So they just have, the font in use. They talk about why the font was developed. And then, I think this is kind of like a music thing. And then they show the collection, all the different typefaces that are set. And then eventually, and this is what you'll be doing in this is way more than you would ever be expected to do. But I even just like looking through, interesting color palettes that they put together. I just think there's a really cool way that they show their typefaces. And I think once you get to the end of this, they might show the actual fonts. I guess they don't. They just use the typeface for the... Oh, here they are. So all the different typefaces used in these catalogs, and you can see they used a few different ones, which is really cool. All Emigre fonts. But you just, get a cool idea of how they're used and the context and stuff. And then you can just kind of see the motion here. You can look up the character set. Again, I don't know if this is available on Adobe fonts, but it's really cool to kind of look at the different type specimens. This was a cool one. Yeah, just like a really square sans serif. You can download these. So this is really good for inspiration as well. Heffler and Company, they designed some really cool typefaces, and I think his are a little bit more expensive. But I do believe that he has, if you go to Heffler, they have type specimens. You can order this catalog if you want to. This is a little more refined. Heffler is a little bit more serious, a little bit more refined. But you can see in some cases showing his typeface, looking at them. And then he talks about the typefaces that he designs and for whom. He actually designed Gotham typeface, which Obama used in his campaign. But it's really, just again, inspiration, different typefaces that are out there. I really like his ornaments. And then the Letterform archive. What this is really cool, it's online archive. So if you go to the Letterform archive and then click into their online archive, you can actually search for type specimens booklets. And this is going to show you type specimens from 0. So maybe not booklets. Here we go. This is going to show you specimens from like the 1800s and 1900s, and which is really, really cool to see what they used to do in the past. So this is called Simplex. You can tell it's old. This is an archive in San Francisco, so they actually have all of these physical booklets. And so if you ever go to San Francisco, you can always go. But I just love these old books. I think just even from the color of the paper to the way they're designing, and these would all be pre-computer, so these would all be like set with letterpress or metal type, and you can see nothing is overlapped, although here they overlap this, which is kind of crazy. But there's just a lot of really cool type specimen examples in this online archive. Here's Impact, which I don't even know when this was designed, but you would think that this would be a newer typeface, but it really isn't. So this online archive is awesome. So these are just a bunch of different resources you can look at. You could just do a Google search. I can also potentially list these typefaces at the bottom of the post where I have this video. But one last thing I wanted to show you guys is just a little bit of a refresher on how to set up your booklets. So I'm in InDesign, and everyone should be using InDesign. And the way you're going to set up your booklets is you're going to go to New File, you're going to go to Print, and then always make sure it's on inches. And then this is where you set your pages. So say my booklet is 8 inches by 8 inches. You are going to have 16 pages. So I'm just going to put 16 here. Oops. 16 pages. You're going to start at page 1. Page 1 will be the cover. Page 16 will be your back cover. And then you're going to want to decide how many columns. In this size, I might do 4 or 5. It's up to you. My margins, I usually try to unlock this, and I always do more on the bottom because remember, you want to leave yourself room for page numbers. And then because this booklet's not that big, I'm actually going to knock this down to 3/8 of an inch. And then you always want to add bleed. Always remember to add that bleed. And then I'm going to hit create. My computer is being really slow today. Okay, so and if you go to your pages panel, you can see all 16 pages. So your file should have all 16 pages. And then you can see you've got the 4 columns, you've got the spreads. So the first spread will be your table of contents, front cover, table of contents, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 typefaces as spreads. And then the back cover is page 16. So this is how you will set up your files. And you don't have to set it up exactly this way. It could be a different page size. You could use more columns. Your margins can be a little bit different. That's totally up to you. And then another reminder about automatic page numbering. So automatic page numbering, you always want to set on your parent page. And, you know, I do this pretty quickly just so that I don't forget. And you're basically going to draw a text box, and I'm just going to put an A in there. You can change this typeface later. You can change the color. You can change everything later, but this way it's done. And then I'm going to select that A, and I'm going to go to type, insert special character, markers, current page number. And then now that I have that on the one side, I'm going to duplicate it. So I'm just going to copy paste. I'm going to bring this over to the other side. You could have it centered. You could have, you know, position your page numbers based on your design. But I'm going to go ahead and right justify this one, and because I just copied and pasted it, it should have that same marker assigned to it. And again, I'm on my parent pages, and I selected both spreads. So now when I go to page 1, it has page 1. If I go to page 6 and 7, it's got page 6 and 7. Obviously, page 1, the cover, I don't want that page number on there. So if I just hit Command Shift and select it, I can delete it. And then this is my table of contents. So my table of contents should never have page numbers because there's really nothing that is going to be addressed on the table of contents. You're not going to link it to anything or, you know, show it to anything. So what I'm going to do is I want these 2 pages to be pages 2 and 3. So I'm going to select both, and I'm going to go up to my little hamburger menu, and I'm going to go to numbering and section options. And I'm going to start page number. Start page numbering at page 2. So I want the page 4 and 5 to be page 2 and 3. So you're going to get this little thing, and I'm just going to hit OK. And then I'm going to go back up to my table of contents spread. And I'm going to also get rid of page 2. So Shift, Command, Delete. Page 3, Shift, Command, Delete. So now this is my cover with no page number. This is my table of contents spread with no page numbers. And then pages will actually start at 2 and 3. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then again on the back, Shift, Command, Select, delete that. And then you'll do a save. But that's basically how you set up your document. And then, you know, I'm not going to necessarily require that you have anything consistent on the parent pages besides the page numbers, but you might want to think about, are there elements that you could put on your parent pages that go across the design that you wouldn't have to think about later, and they're just there. So I look forward to seeing you guys, your initial sketches and research, and I hope you have fun this week finding typefaces. You want to make sure to get this done quickly because this is a pretty big project and we've only got a few weeks to work on it. So definitely read through Module 4, you know, figure out everything that needs to be done and when. And I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with for your type specimen booklet.